Hi, my name's John Riley. I've been asked to give a narration and view of the head of the Schuylkill. I'm up here on the Schuylkill heading upriver. This is the buoy line that is the beginning of, well, a rather gracious chute to the starting line. You'll be up here near these bridges, staged, finishing your warm-up, and then you'll be brought down to head to the line. I'm going to turn around here to head downriver on a beautiful sunny day and give you a perspective on the course. The starting line is, well, it's only it's like 300 feet from me. You'll notice that buoy line right here. It is the port buoy line, and there's a starboard buoy line, and you're either going to be asked to start on the port or the starboard. If you are started on the port side with your blades to this port buoy line over here, then it is suggested that you make a commitment in the 20-30 strokes before the Strawberry Mansion abutment to gradually move over to starboard to shorten your course. You don't want to go wide on that turn. You want to hug the starboard abutment. I'm going to get us situated in the optimal position of running the starboard buoy line. It's a straight shot. It's about 750 meters. And we're going to get on that buoy line and run down to Strawberry. And so I'm on that now. There's a starting line over right there where that tent is. There's that tent. And then we're about to go over the starting line. And the perspective for coxswains would be right there. There's your buoy line on starboard. And you're going to run along these buoys. You don't have to be right on them. You just got to run straight with them. It doesn't benefit you to go over them. You don't have to be perfectly on them. Same if you're over on the port, same deal. The big thing is if you're over on the port buoy line, you definitely have to commit to moving over to starboard before you get to the bridge. So here we are in the beginning of the course. The perspective to stern is straightforward. If you're in the middle, it's both buoy lines. If you're on this buoy line, it's the starboard buoy line, the port one. Bottom line is it's like a 2K. You've got a series of buoys. If you have your head up and you're looking, they'll kind of guide you perspective-wise in which direction to travel. I could stop and maybe do that. Let me do that. There's your stern perspective with the buoys. It's straightforward. Now continuing downriver along this buoy line, you can see that Strawberry Mansion will be presenting itself. And for coxswains, you want to be aiming at that right side abutment. You want to be aiming at the abutment in the view to the right. To just shave it with your starboard oars. That's your goal. So if you're on the port side right now, that's your goal as well. So what has to be done is somewhere between here and that abutment, you have to gradually meander to just miss that abutment on your starboard side. And I'm going to back the screen up and give you the real perspective. We just went through the 500 meter mark and we're heading up to Strawberry. This is a very uncomfortable position to be in if you're a Philadelphia rower because the normal traffic pattern has you on the other side of the river in this direction. But for visitors, this is standard stuff. You'll notice approaching Strawberry, and the key, this is a pivotal moment approaching Strawberry, is that buoy, there's a buoy there sticking out, a little green buoy, yellow green buoy. You don't want to hug that buoy, you want to hug the abutment. So you're going to miss this buoy, and all boats should, on this turn, be over here on the starboard abutment and not over there. And you want to nail this turn and end up pointing just where that spire is off at Centennial Hall. Centennial Hall off in the distance, I'll zoom in right there. you want to be aiming to just go to the right of that. As we just clear the abutment with our blades, there's a perspective that you need to have. If you're a Cox boat, you're aiming like we are right now, which is to the right of the of Centennial Hall in the distance. You want to just shave the middle of the island. The island's widest at the middle. You want to have the branches of the trees of that island right almost over your starboard blades. So to the right of Centennial Hall in the distance, and if you're just to the right of it, there's no buoys over here on starboard. And if you're anywhere near those buoys over there near St. Joe's and the port buoy line, you've really given away some course, added course to your trip. I'm going to pause here to give you perspective and flip it around to the stern. This is the correct stern perspective. You've just hugged that abutment. This is how it should feel. Now we basically have about 1,000 plus, maybe 1,200 meters to the next bridge. So we got to zoom along here. There'll be no buoys on your starboard, so if you drift off, one thing that helps you is that the abutment you just went through on your starboard at Strawberry is an excellent point of reference for where you have to go, which is just to the right of this building and off in the background. If you're on the abutment with your stern or slightly just to the right of it, I'm going to slow down and take that perspective again. You'll for scullers and blind boats, you'll be in great shape. Coxswains have this viewpoint, and you want to hold this viewpoint right here. So that's your stern kind of aiming at that abutment. If you've hugged the turn correctly, right here, you should have this kind of perspective. Continuing toward the island, we'll be approaching the first mile mark, which they don't have marked. It's about 800 meters to the bridge right now, and about 150 meters to the 100 meters or so to the mile mark, if you're interested in that distance. And this is the line you want to have, shaving the island, and you can't really see the full arch that we're going to head through. You can't really see that. It's a little wobbly here, but there we go. You can't really see it because it's kind of blocked by the island. We're going through roughly the 1 mile mark, and if you've done this right, your perspective to stern, still your stern is probably on that abutment back at Strawberry. So you've held that viewpoint, and we're going to take a look at that. There, that's that viewpoint. You've held it. Now, coming through, there's your lane 6 marker, coxswains. You're going to be just to the starboard side of that. There's the island. You're going to pick the island up, but you're not going to be over there because you're going to skim the middle of the island, and now the arch comes into view, and you've got a nice view of the center of the lane 5-6 arch that you're going to go right dead center on. And notice the trees are over your head. This is the proper line that's most advantageous. You can be over in the port side line because you are going to hug the port side abutment. But if you're over there, that means you went wide earlier up at Strawberry. Now the key here is realizing that the island is kind of teardrop, so it's gonna peel away from you, and you're now committed to this line. And coxswains, for your perspective, it's this line right here. Kind of notice that building in the background, the Centennial Hall, it still has a value because it's aiming you. Kind of, you almost want to aim right at dead center on it, because we are going to take the port edge of this arch here. We're not going to be on starboard. We're going to hug the port abutment. So we're going to zoom up here. There's the finish line of the 2K course. Very windy day today. It's a headwind on the first half, obviously a strong tailwind in the second half of the race, of course. Still no buoys over here on starboard, and there won't be any. And you won't want to be on the port buoys because clearly that'll put you right into the abutment. Here I am coming up on the center of that arch. And you're going to be looking off your right shoulder, blind boats, to hug this turn. So there's no stern reference you need to look at because you're going to get right in on this abutment right here on port side. You're just going to miss it, and you'll notice immediately there's a buoy line. It's about 15-20 strokes straight. You get right on this line right here, and you run this line right here. You run this buoy line straight for like 15-20 strokes, depending on boat speed. This is a tough spot for blind boats because now you got to pick up this buoy right here, and you got to see the next buoy, and you got to connect them, and you got to turn so that you're right on that next line. So it's a straight line for 15-20 strokes. I'm picking this buoy line up right here, and then going straight on this buoy line for 15-20 strokes. It's a crew heading upriver. There'll be a lot of warming up. And you don't have to be right on these lines because if you notice that connecting the lines, there's a big gap between the buoys. So there's this big buoy right there, and that's the end of a line, and then the next one, well, it's straight out. Now there may be a couple buoys here or there, but they're not buoys you have to concern yourself with. I have a feeling they might even remove these three or put an orange buoy right here at these guys. And then there's a straight line here. So this is your third straight line. This one's more like 20 strokes long. These are all turns to port. So it's like turn at the bridge, go straight. Pick up the next big buoy. Turn onto that, go straight. Pick up the next big buoy, turn, go straight. And then you'll come to where there's one more. So here we are on that. There's one, that ends the line. Looks like they got an anchor buoy, a white anchor buoy. They'll probably get that out of your way so no one will run into that. And then you got your last buoy line. This buoy line runs the whole way down to the bridge. And it runs down to the port side abutment. Now we're going to be on the starboard side abutment of Girard's bridge here, the first bridge at Girard. But right now we want to be on the port buoy line. So here we are, port buoy line. I'm going to take a stern shot, give you a perspective. Not much to see in this perspective. Maybe the dock off there in the distance is a dock. That's about it. And now here we are, we're going past the launch area. And here's the big deal here. You got about 1,000 meters to get down and move off the port to starboard about 50 feet. So in reality, it doesn't really matter where you are relative to this buoy line right now that's off of the port side, as long as it's straight and you're heading down. I mean, if you're way over here, that's bad. If you're way off the starboard, that's bad. But you don't have to be right on this buoy line. This is Al Wacklin and his crew. He's responsible for all the buoys at Camden and here on Boathouse Row. Wave, Al! Thanks, guys! So, a lot of work. A lot of wonderful work Al Wacklin's done and his crew for over the last 20, 30 years. So this is the venue. Irrelevant right now in your race. But notice I'm not really going much more than, I'd say, 15, 20 feet at most off that buoy line. So you can be here, you can be right next to it. But the bottom line is, as you approach Girard Bridge, which is about another 550 meters, 600 meters, you've got to start looking off your left shoulder, blind boats, to hug the starboard arch. Hug the starboard abutment of that middle arch. So I'll give you a perspective right there where we're heading. You definitely don't want to be way over on the starboard side, coxswains or blind boats, because there is a buoy line out there, but that's going wide. You want to be no more than where I am relative to this buoy line, which is about 20 feet at most. Some people, they'll get it early and just go straight paralleling the buoy line, knowing that they're off the buoy line enough to hug this abutment correctly. Others will be halfway down that buoy line on port and then gradually meander to where we are now. Not much of a big deal either way. The bottom line is you gotta hug this first bridge of Girard, the train bridge, the stone bridge. You gotta hug it on your starboard, and it is your turning mark. The downstream edge of this abutment is the spot where you nail the turn and you are straight to the finish line from there. Probably getting close to 500 meters from the finish line here. You probably start in your first 20 or your build up of your last 500 meters of sprinting for the race. And we're gonna zip it along a little bit to get up there. That starboard buoy line's gonna come closer and closer into view. You'll feel like you're in the middle of the river pretty much. I'll give you a stern perspective. There's your stern perspective. Now, the stern perspective for blind boats here is critical. For Cox boats, what you want is these these two poles for power lines. You want to get your bow on them. They're just to the right of a skyscraper. But right now, what we're going to do is hug this abutment. We do not want to be over there. We want to be right where we are right here. Blades just missing. The downstream edge of this abutment. We're going to nail it hard. That sign right there of no value, but this turn right here hard. Notice I'm turning the launcher hard. You want to aim right at those two in the distance, those two power lines. Preferably just to the right of them. You'll get a center shot on the river. You'll just miss that abutment with your starboard oars and you'll be right down the middle of the river. Here comes the stern perspective. That's your stern perspective. It's pretty sharp. Get a perspective on it right there. There it is. So you just missed the second bridge, the street bridge, with your starboard oars, and they have a giant buoy on the starboard side way off in the distance. Let me stabilize. I don't know if you can see that giant buoy. And you don't want to aim for that. You want to aim for those two, just to the right of those two power lines, towers that hold the power lines. Not the set, there's two sets. There's this set and that set, not them, these. You want to aim straight at them. It's going to put you right down the middle of the river. You're in your last 200, 250 right now. I'll give you another stern perspective. Look how you can't even see the abutment that you turned on. That's how tight it is. It's a good view right here. The idea of you don't want to be over there. So if you're way over this section right here near the sculpture guard and you kind of went wide, there's your finish line, tents, right there. You're coming up on it. You're in your flat out sprint. And you still got your mark right on those, right there, right on that line, just to the right of those two towers. There's your big buoy. There's your other buoy. I believe these buoys are past the finish line or darn near right on it. I've gone a little bit off course. There we go. That's it. Dead center. So if you're way over to one side or the other, that's no good. You need to be middle of the river right here. And then you set that all up on the first bridge of Girard, not the second. Here's your finish line right there. And we're coming up on the mark. And as I tell all my crews, better to go through it than stop short of it. Well, I hope this is helpful information for your regatta. And I'm going to bring it down just to give you a shot of Philadelphia, what we see every day. The downtown is off there. And the beginning of Boathouse Row. So as we come around all these skyscrapers, they still, at one time, William Penn was the tallest thing in the city, topping City Hall. There's William Penn off center frame in the distance, still visible. Then the Sedgley and the Art Museum. And we're coming up on all of Boathouse Row. Again, this is John Riley. I hope you have a wonderful regatta, and welcome and enjoy Philadelphia.